Hello, this is Nelda from Canadian Scrap Sisters. Today I'm going to show you one of my favorite techniques. It's, I guess you'd call it a mixed media technique. I'm using a lot of different materials, and I got my inspiration from this spread that I did several years ago in a junk journal that I probably made 20 years ago. But what I like about it is the layers. So I think the base page is from a magazine or a brochure or some kind of junk mail like that. And then I've got layers of gesso and collage and napkins, some of my own handwriting. There are stickers here. I've done some stamping and another piece of collage here, more handwriting, just a lot of different layers. So I thought I would show you some steps in how to make something in this kind of layered look. So I've got 3 different bases here that I thought we could try. This is just a plain white cardstock. This is a page from a magazine. And this is a gingerbread cookie box that I've cut down. So the first step is to apply gesso to these. So I've got the gesso I'm using is Liquitex Professional Gesso, and I'm almost out, so I hope I have enough to finish this. I've got a brush to apply the gesso, a jar of water to rinse my brush, a rag, and I just use an old glass plate for my palette, and I've squirted out some gesso there. Another thing I like to do is I collect old papers that say I've printed on and don't need anymore, or junk mail, or pages from old magazines, and I use this to paint on or do other messy work or to glue on, and then I just take the top page once it gets all messy and I can discard it. So I'll start with this piece of white cardstock, and it's going to be difficult to see the gesso on it, of course, but I'm just loading up my brush. I'm not going to apply any water to the brush. I just want to messily paint the gesso on the page, and I'm not too worried about covering every piece of the paper. I want some texture. I'm happy with brush marks showing. I'm happy with the original paper showing through. I just want to get some gesso on there, and that will provide some texture for the next layers. Then I'll do the same thing with this magazine page. And maybe this one I'll just do a few patches, and we'll let the parts of the magazine show through. And I'm applying it kind of thick in some places, thinner in other places. It doesn't really matter. Then I'm going to just take this top page off because it's getting pretty messy. Then I've got a fresh page here that I can paint my last piece with. This is the cardboard from the cookie box, and again I'm just kind of messily brushing gesso on. I could even take the end of my brush and kind of make some marks in it. just for added texture. So these pieces need to dry, so I will dry them and then come back and show you the next step. All right, so my pages have dried now, and my next step is to add some napkin. So I've got some napkins that I've already removed the white layers from. So this is just the top layer from the napkin. And to glue it down, I'm just using a mixture of PVA glue, like Elmer's white glue, and water that I keep in this jar. And I've just been stirring it up because I had to add a bit more water. It got a bit thick as it was sitting. So I'm just going to use the same brush that I used for the gesso. And I'm going to tear the napkin, and I think I'll just apply it right here on the side. So I'm loading up my brush with my glue and water mixture, painting it over, and then laying down the napkin and just getting a bit more glue on my brush, and then gently brushing glue over top of the napkin. And you can make it as smooth as you want, or I don't mind a few wrinkles and bubbles. That gives it more texture. And then we'll put that aside to dry, and I'll do the next one. So for this was the white cardstock, and I have this pretty peacock napkin. So I'm just going to kind of do 3/4 of it with the peacock napkin. So again, my glue and water mixture, just paint it all over where the napkin will go. Get right to the edges. Just a nice, smooth, thin layer. And then I'll lay the napkin onto the wet glue. And brush another thin layer gently over the top. There, and then I'll put that aside to dry. And the last one is the cardboard from the cookie box. I have this napkin, and I'm just going to tear it in half. And how do I want this? I think I'll just put it over the length of the cardboard there. So more glue. And I'll lay the napkin onto the glue and gently brush some more glue over the top. And I don't know if you can see in the camera, but I've broken the napkin here. I must have, it got too wet. And I'm just going to leave it the way it is. It'll add more texture. All right, so these need to dry, and then I'll come back, and the next thing we'll do is we'll add some collage on top. So, funny story. Last night I made the first part of this video, and then I was collaging on my 3 pieces, and the camera wasn't recording. So when I realized that, I thought, well, it's pretty late, so I'm just going to give up, go to bed, and try again tomorrow. So I'll show you what I did with the collage. On this piece, I collaged these 3 pieces like that. And I used the same glue and water mixture that I used to collage the napkins. On this one, I added this piece, and this piece. And on this one, I added a piece of book page here, this piece, and this piece. So the next step is adding some paint. So I use this old glass plate as my palette, and I'm using just some craft paints in colors that are already in my pieces. So I've got yellow, pink, orange, this blue color, and some white. So I'm just going to put a few dabs on my palette. Running low on the white. And I'm going to do a few different things. I'm going to use my fingers. I may use this. This is a gift card. I might use this to scrape paint on my pages. I've picked out some small brushes, so I might use those. I also have some stencils, so I might use those as well. And my little pile of paper here that I'll use so I don't get my work surface messy. So let's start with this one. I really like the orange, and there's a pink color in here. So I think I'm just going to start with my fingers. I've got a rag here to wipe my hands. So I'm going to get some orange paint on my fingers and just kind of pick a spot and rub it in. And I also have some water here, so I could dip my finger in that if I wanted to kind of spread the paint a bit further. So I like that, and I think I'll add some pink over in this corner. And I'll add a bit of water just to spread it out a bit more. So I like how that looks. Then I'm going to take one of my brushes. This is kind of a flat square brush, and I think I'll just add some marks with the pink over here. And like I said in the beginning of this video, I'm really just playing. I have no plans for this. I'm not sure what I'll use these pieces for. I'm just playing with color and texture. And I think I'll add a few pink circles over here. There, that looks good. So I'm going to set this aside to dry. And I'll clean off my brush. So next, let's work on this one. So this one, I'm liking the blue. But I don't think I want to use my fingers because I don't really want just big splotches of color. I think I want a design. So maybe this kind of chevron pattern. So I'll use this stencil, and I have these makeup sponges to apply the paint. And I think I'll just add some stenciling over on this side, and I guess I'm trying to connect these three separate pieces here with a bit of paint. So I'm just going to take my dry sponge, dip it in some paint, and dab off most of it, and then using an up and down motion, I'll just sponge it on top here. And just for fun, I think I'm going to add a bit of white as well. I can hear my dog wanting in. There, so let's see what that looks like. Nice. And I'll use the same stencil just over in this corner. And I'll do the same thing. I'll start with some blue, and then a bit of white. There. So I think that's looking better. I think the stenciling is kind of pulling it all together. I'm just going to take my, this is just a small round brush and some white paint, and I just want to make some white marks on this dark green piece. Just kind of, I don't know, it really stands out, so I'm trying to make things look like they go together. And then this piece is kind of sticking out like a sore thumb, so I think I'll use the same round brush, some blue paint, and what should I do? Maybe just some lines. And I'm not trying too hard to make the lines all the same size or anything. They're a little wonky, and I like that. So I think that's coming along nicely. I'll put that aside to dry. All right, so this piece, I'm liking the pink and yellow theme that's going on here. We haven't used this gift card to scrape paint on, so let's give that a try. I think I'll start with some yellow. So I'm just running the edge of the card through my yellow paint, and then I'm going to scrape it across the page. And because of the texture on the page, it's not going to apply evenly, and that's fine. I kind of like how it looks. And on the napkin, you can see, especially when it dries, it's going to enhance the wrinkles in the napkin. So I like that. And then let's add some pink. So I'm running the edge of the card through the pink paint, but instead of scraping it, I think I'll just do some lines like that, and then maybe going the other way here. And then it's nice to have patterns going off the edge, so I'll do some lines up there too. So that's looking all right. I'm just going to scrape the excess paint off on my paper here. I think this one needs some more work. I'm just not quite sure at this moment what to do, so I'll set this aside to dry. And then next, let's just look at my inspiration page here again. So we've done gesso, napkin, paint, stenciling. Some other things I like on this page that we haven't done yet is some handwriting. And yeah, so maybe we'll do that next. And then once we've done a bit of writing on these pieces, or maybe other mark making with pens, we'll see where we're at and see if any of the pieces need anything else, and go from there. All right, so my paint is dry now. I've gathered a few different mark making materials. Have just a 4B pencil, a black Sharpie marker, a black Uniball Air pen, a couple of inexpensive, I think this one is a gel pen, Uniball Signo, and this one is an inexpensive ballpoint pen, and a Sharpie pen. And maybe I'll start with the pencil. So on this piece, it might be fun to just kind of draw around some of these shapes I painted, like these circles. And because of the texture, the pencil is skipping quite a bit, so the marks are not even at all, but that adds to the scrappy look of this. And then maybe do the same thing around some of these marks. And this is a 4B pencil, like I said, so it's got a soft black lead in it, so you can also kind of smudge it if you like that kind of smudgy look. And maybe I'll go around these little bumpy things. There, that's looking good. Then I think I'll add a bit of faux handwriting. You have to make sure your paint is perfectly dry before you write on it, or you'll gum up your pen. So I think here I'll just do some kind of, they also call it asemic writing, where you're making marks that look like handwriting, but they actually don't say anything. So I'll just kind of make some marks that remind me of handwriting, and like so. There, I'm liking that. So I think I'll put this one aside for now. We might come back to it again later. This one, just going to trim off this piece that's sticking out and this piece there. And here you can see the paper's warped quite a bit with all the different the wet mediums I've applied to it. So this one, I think I'll take a black Sharpie. These dots are calling to me, so I just kind of want to put a little black dot in them, and they're not all in the same place or all the same size. They're just adding a bit more interest. There. And I didn't leave a lot of room on this one for any writing, but I'm thinking this spot here, we could, maybe I'll do the same thing, some asemic writing kind of thing. There. And then I would like some black marks somewhere else, like down in this area. So what could I do? I could kind of outline these lines of paint or do some other marks on them. Or I could do something with the feathers, like kind of like that idea. Maybe I'll just kind of accentuate these feather shapes kind of loosely and scratchy, just like that. Yeah, I like that. And then some of the little feathery bits, whatever those are called. There. Can you see that in the camera? can probably see it better in person. So I like that. This feather I've covered up with this piece of collage, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball where I think it goes and then go around it with some scratchy marks, and then do the same thing with the feathery bits. Oh, they're getting really scratchy now. There, kind of like that. And I think I'll just do the same thing here too. I'm going over my stenciling. Nobody will know. There. Like that. This one, I'm going to trim these pieces off. And because I applied the pink lines here with the card, they're a bit thicker and might not be completely dry, so I'll have to be careful of that. So this one, I really like this tulip here, so I think I'm going to use the pencil and kind of draw in the stem and then roughly outline this tulip shape. And maybe smudge it a bit around the edges there. I keep putting it this way, so I guess it goes this way. I'm going to trim some of this napkin that I didn't get before. So this, what else could I do here? I think I'll do some asemic writing right in here. And I might make it a bit smaller than I did on the other two pieces, because to me this feels like a more delicate piece of work. So I'll just do some smallish lines of asemic writing down here. Something like that. Yeah, just with that, I feel like it's coming together a lot more. I'm not sure why exactly. Maybe it's composition or balance. I don't know. But my eye keeps coming to this yellow corner up here, and I'd like to do something. And circles, little circles is coming to me. So there's some circles coming through, maybe from the paper behind. So maybe I'll just outline those kind of scribbly. There, I like that. And I'll just kind of add some more coming further out into the rest of the piece. There. Okay. I think that's good for that. I'll just pull all three pieces back in. We'll have a look at them. So I'm liking this one the most. And I think it's just because of the contrast in the colors, and there's an energy to it that I think comes from those lines I did into the gesso on the very first layer, and the lines of the design in the napkin, my writing there, the scribbly pencil marks. So I'm liking this one, and I can't think of anything I'd like to add to it right now. I like this one too, but I'm feeling it's a bit one-dimensional. There's not a lot of contrast. So it might need some, either some really light marks or areas, or some even darker marks or areas. And then this one is turning out to be quite soft and gentle. One thing that bothers me is this pink piece here with the print on it. It just doesn't seem to fit. So that one, I think I'll just bring the paint back and my rag and my pad of scrappy paper. So I think I'm going to cover this with my finger in some, just going to mix some pink and white together and just kind of push that back a bit. Something like that. And I'll put that aside to dry. Then this, I think I want to add some white. But I'm not quite sure. Maybe right in here. Maybe I'll just use my finger and just smear some white right there. And then over here too. And over here. There. I like that a bit better. So clean off my finger. Okay, let's see what we've got now. So these were the two I wasn't quite happy with. Not really liking that. One thing I could do to fix that is just cut the bottom off. Let's do it. There. Yeah, I like that better. That bottom piece was distracting my eye. Without it, it just feels like it all goes together better. And this one, so I like those white spots I put in. I feel like Need something else, but I'm not quite sure what that is. Maybe a different stencil or some more marks. Maybe a different color. Because right now it's very blue-green with some black, and there was some gold in the napkin. So of the colors I've got here, I really want to add some orange, but it might not like it. Let's just take, so I'm going to use the end of the paintbrush, and I'm just going to where should I do this? Just gonna dab some orange right here. And just see. Interesting. Don't hate it. Maybe I'll do the same thing right here. And right here. Don't hate it, but I don't love it either. Let's see. Well, it's wet. And there's always a possibility that I'll make it even worse, but I'm just going to pop some, oh, I don't know if that's going to work, white into these orange dots. I'm not sure about that. Okay. Well, I think I'll let that dry and then come back and see if I've come up with any other ideas. Well, it's later in the day and I stepped away from these pieces for a while, and I'm not sure what to do with this one, so I think I'll just call it finished for now. One idea I had was that it just needs a focal point, so I pulled out some bits of ephemera I have. I found a few these are photocopies of pictures, and I thought, maybe I'll cut this in half, make 2 journal cards out of it, and then a photograph, something like this would look nice, or something like that. So for now I'm just going to leave it as is, and the other 2 I think are pretty good just as they are. So I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe got a few ideas or saw some things you'd like to try. I did want to mention a few video or YouTube channels that inspire me in terms of mixed media work, and they are Sean Petite, Alyssa Burke, and Lally Mill, and I'll link their YouTube channels in the comments below in case you want to go check them out. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found something interesting, and I'll see you later. Bye.